Canberra has finally become a bona fide grown-up city because, as you know, William, we are in lockdown.
Oh, no, I thought you were going to say a grown-up city because we're getting, I don't know,
A debtor's prison.
a debtor's prison. No, I was going to say a roller skating rink or...
But we can combine them. I mean, I think that's a business idea that we can work with.
Yeah, okay.
So commiserations now... I mean, I'm not going to try and pretend our situation is anything like Melbourne or particularly Sydney right now. But yeah, we're in lockdown. So if we sound like Will and I aren't in the same room, it's because we're not.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, if you're in lockdown, right? So the best thing to talk about, it struck me, when you can't go anywhere, is gorgeous tourist destinations.
Yes.
The obvious thing to talk about.
Are you going to make me happy or not happy? Because I've been thinking, it's been winter for a while here, and I've been thinking that I would love to have a sauna. I would love to have, like, in the backyard, in the house, somewhere, have a sauna that I can just walk to, like the Finnish people. I walk there and I have a sauna. And you know what I realized? Imagining you're in a sauna gives you 0% of the benefits of being in a sauna. Like, you just can't.
No. Psychology's proven it gives you 1.2% of the benefits.
No, it hasn't. You get nothing. I'd
take a spa. I'd take a jacuzzi over a sauna any day because I find saunas a bit much.
You're a sweaty gentleman anyway.
Yeah, I run hot, man.
No,
I had $1 for the number of times I've been told that, I'd have.
But this is what I'm thinking.
$1.
You mentioned to me amazing tourist destinations, and I'm like, no, I think imagining them doesn't help.
Well, maybe, yeah, this could go either way for you. You know, you might feel good about it.
Okay.
Rügen is Germany's largest island.
Is it really? Look, I didn't think of Germany as being famed for islands. It's, you start with Indonesia, Greece, Japan,
yeah.
Other.
The Galapagos.
Yeah, Galapagos. Yeah, okay. Philippines definitely. And countries like Australia, we got a bunch of islands off the side and stuff like that. And obviously Germany is not landlocked. It's not Mongolia, but I would put Germany in the lower end of...
Well, look, no one's saying Rügen is an enormous island. It's just Germany's largest island.
Okay. How big does that make it?
Oh, we'll get to that. I'm just going to tell you where it is, and then I'm going to give you the dimensions.
Man, listener, you are sitting on the edge of your seat now, waiting to know the size of Rügen.
Are you ready for island dimensions? It's located off the Pomeranian coast in the Baltic Sea.
There's a Pomeranian coast?
Apparently there is.
That's a dog.
Well, I think it was a coast before it was a dog.
Maybe.
I don't think they name countries after dogs. I think it goes the other way around on the whole.
We're finding a lot of Pomeranians here. We'll call this the Pomeranian coast.
Let's call it the Pomeranian coast.
Like the Dalmatian coast. They found a lot of Dalmatians
there. And Alsace. So anyway, it's in the Baltic. It's off Pomeranian coast, and it belongs to the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. You know the place.
Again, my apologies. I love geography, but my German geography is not quite as good as my other MISC geography.
All other, my grab bag. So how big is it? It maxes out at 51 kilometers long.
Yes.
And nearly 43 kilometers wide, which is 926 square kilometers, or about 4 square miles.
You can live on that. Like that's.
Oh, you can live on that.
I can cope with that. That's big enough.
There's plenty of island there.
There's towns on it.
Oh, the gateway to Rügen Island. Is the Hanseatic city of Stralsund. And we all know about what Hanseatic city is. It's a city with a lot of hands. I don't know what it means either, but I just like the word Hanseatic city of Stralsund.
There was a Hanseatic League at one point.
There was. They're a bit German?
I don't know. There was like a group of principalities joined together to form the Hanseatic League.
So Stralsund, which is the gateway to Rügen Island,
God,
is the gate. It's there. It's in the Hanseatic League. It's linked to the mainland road, so by a railway and road. So there's a Rügen Bridge and a causeway. So there are two routes that cross a 2 kilometer wide bit of the ocean, bit of the Baltic Sea.
Cool.
So it's linked to the ground. The whole coastline has heaps of sandy beaches, lagoons, open bays, little peninsulas, headlands. It's glorious.
That sounds nice. What sort of activities do they do there?
Oh, many. And we're going to get into those.
Okay.
In June 2011, UNESCO gave it the status of a World Heritage Site to a place called the Jasmund National Park. And it's famous, as you would know. I'm just telling this for other people.
Of course, yes. I'm about to say it's I don't want to spoil it.
No, it's famous for its stands of beech trees, obviously.
Yes.
And the chalk cliffs, like King's Chair. So it's got huge chalk cliffs. The pictures of the island are quite spectacular. on the chalk, like the White Cliffs of Dover, only
So,
German.
and obviously, anytime when you describe a natural attraction as like the more famous one, then you know they're going to be pretty good, but not great.
Yeah. It's at least the second most chalk cliffy place in the world, maybe third. I think it might be second. So it sounds delicious. Like reading about it, it sounds absolutely delightful. So it's laid back, eccentric, old fashioned. It's perfect for people who like the seaside.
I want to go there now. I would live in lockdown on Rügen.
This is why I thought I'd tell you about it today.
Have a strudel on Rügen.
Well, they also, according to an English travel writer writing for the London Telegraph, he also said you get all these things, the old-fashioned, eccentric, laid-back, but not the wilting heat of the Mediterranean.
Oh, the wilting heat. Yeah. Okay.
The wilting heat.
Well,
one swoons.
In fairness, the Mediterranean is going through wilting heat right now.
Yeah, cool.
With our friends in Greece, suffering quite a lot. And them's bushfires. I don't know if they call them bushfires down there.
No, they call them Iaso Pilotkotos. So the coastline of this region and the island in particular stretches from Binz, which is a city or town on the island, to
how many of these German names are going to be on the test?
You won't have to worry about them.
Okay, good.
I just like saying them. You have to remember Rügen. Binz will come up because it's
Rügen's locked in. I've got that one.
Yeah. So Binz is on the island and it's like the town. So this whole area near Binz and all around this stuff, it's ideal for seaside resorts, as you would expect from what I've described already. I know I can see you drooling a little bit into your microphone. And gin. So John Gimlet, the guy who was writing for the London Telegraph, he described the wider region in this area as Germany's answer to Norfolk. Again, and we all don't know what that means.
Again, you're describing it like something that is more famous. Also, I don't know what Norfolk is famous for.
I love it when anyone in England goes, you should imagine this delicious seaside. I said, I don't need to. I just drive for an hour and 20 minutes.
Also, I'm not imagining any delicious seaside in England. I mean, you have some nice beaches there. They do, but it's not like imagine you are at Noosa or Byron Bay or Hawaii. Or I could spend quite a long time naming nice beaches that I am not at.
Let's just do that instead. I'm going to throw my notes away. We're going to name nice beaches.
No, I'm not going to.
So the journalist continues. He says, out of season, you may have some of the great sweeps of sand in the south of the island all to yourself in the off season.
And you know
what? But be warned.
Yeah, okay.
In August, it can get crowded. Imagine Europe, a place that's nice, getting crowded in August. I just can't even conceive of that.
No, not at all.
So apparently the Germans love it. And for over a century, resorts have been lavished around the place. Mansions, spas, all kinds of things around the island.
Cool.
Sounds great. The Colossus of Prora.
Yes.
Prora, Prora. It's a tourist resort commonly known simply as Prora, and it's on that island. And you could say, apparently, it was the first modern holiday resort. So its buildings are a mere 150 meters from the beach. Mm-hmm. Every room has a sea view.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
It's connected to nightclubs, restaurants. They're all done 2 decades before the coast of Spain and Greece developed their own kinds of resorts like this. But from roundish the 1950s and 60s until the 90s, it was pretty much derelict. Oh. Recently, though, it's been restored, and it was described by a travel writer as a glorious feast of Poseidons and columns. So I assume them in Poseidon statues. And once again, there's a glossy black steam train tootling through the town. I know, a glossy black steam train. Sounds delightful. So even though Prora was supposed to be, it was always intended to be a place for rest and recreation. It began its life under, let's say, other and quite specific circumstances.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To the Wholesome Show. Science stories and imaginations of, I don't know, famous seaside resorts for people who sit up the back of the classroom.
Yes. And we are going to, we're not really going to ask any questions. We're just going to tell stories today. You don't have any questions, do you?
I do. I have questions.
So we'll ask questions.
Why a seaside resort would have a sinister, scary backside.
Who said sinister or scary?
Yeah, it was implied in your eyes. I could see it.
Oh.
I could see implied in your eyes. You were like, no, you know that this was something. Wholesome Show is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
and European coastal resorts.
There's going to be a reason for it.
Of course, there's a reason.
Tell me more. Why am I scared of the Seaside Resort? I would be too relaxed there. Would I be too relaxed? Is that the problem?
So, how do we begin? So, the Third Reich destroyed a lot of cities.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
But it never really built any.
It tried to. There was big plans for Berlin.
Yeah, there were big plans.
This is what we will do after the war.
Yeah, you know what we will do. Once we won and we only have one race. So that the few they started, one that stands out mostly is Wolfsburg, which is basically, I think, the reason it only exists pretty much because of VW.
That is such a Hitler name for a town. Like Wolfsburg. What is going to be totally cool and like the dogs? Yes, call it the Wolfsburg. That would be awesome.
I want loyal and beautiful with blue eyes.
Like there's no just chilling out. There's no just calling something cool. Like
no. No, this is Wolf City and we're going to build the people's car there.
Wolf City.
So they had a crack at that. But mostly on the whole, this thing they call Volksgemeinschaft, so people's community, that's what they were looking for. It didn't really play out. They didn't do well.
Okay.
So they started a lot. They had a lot of plans. It didn't work. But apparently, some people argue the resort of Prora was relatively, or at least in theory, successful. They actually built it.
They actually managed to do it. Okay.
Yeah. So that surprised me because when I think of, what were the things that Nazis would really want to build, the resort isn't even in my top 10.
Isn't it? No. That's why there's got to be like the carrots. So Nazi regime, there's a lot of sticks. Resort. There's a lot of sticks, where...
There is a downside, only carrots.
No, the carrots has the good side. There's like, if you join the regime, you get Seaside Resort. You get to look down on people. You get to be totally racist. You get some genocide. You get highways that work really fast, but also seaside resorts.
Very hard to be racist when you're only surrounded by your own, though.
Well, I look. Eventually, they were saying we'll be post-racist, but we won't need to be racist anymore because we're the only one.
Only be one.
I'm sure. But you've got to give people a bit of. You've got to sell the sizzle, and seaside resorts.
True. So they built the resort, and as I said, I was like, well, the Nazis built a resort. That seems interesting, but it turns out they had very clear and solid reasons for this. So Prora was commissioned by the Kraft durch Freude, which means strength through joy movement. Strength through joy, KDF. And it was, and I love the quote, a leisure organization.
I get joy through strength, like you're proud of your muscles. Strength through joy, like you are so happy. You are so happy that you have become strong. This does not sound like right. Like what the Nazis think about themselves.
It's true. And look, honestly, really, if I'm feeling a whole bunch of joy, it's fair bet that what I'm doing is not making me stronger. I'm pretty confident. So anyway, the KDF, the Kraft durch Freude.
That's strength through joy.
Strength Through Joy leisure organization was run by a dude called Robert Ley, who's of the German Labour Front.
If it wasn't tainted now, I think Strength Through Joy would be a cool name for a gym. Like if I was there's two gyms next to each other and there's lift heavy weights and Strength Through Joy, I would definitely think Strength Through Joy. That's the one for me.
Yeah, you're like waddle over here, fat boy, or Strength Through Joy. I'm like, I'm going Strength Through Joy. I want to be happy. It does sound
like you're just going to watch, I don't know, some funny shows on YouTube for a while, and suddenly you'll become strong out the other end.
Away a member of the gun show club thing. So anyway, Robert Ley. So Strength Through Joy was sort of a subsidiary of the German Labour Front, as you would expect, obviously.
Of course.
Founded in November 1933. So in 1934, Strength Through Joy, 400,000 people took Strength Through Joy package tours. This is before Prora.
This does sound like it's the boundary of some sort of scam. Like it's those buy to let or the timeshare scam.
Timeshare, yeah.
It's the Nazi timeshare scams.
Fuck, we got dragged into one. The first time my wife and I went overseas together, we were in Indonesia. We were in Bali, of course, because we're Australian. And some dude outside a supermarket, a shopping center goes, "Hey, you guys, blah, 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 blah." This pommy guy, and he just sells the thing. Come in the van, we're going to tell you all about this stuff. And we're like, okay. And we spent half an hour listening to this bullshit, and they tried to sell us a timeshare. And we're like, oh, yeah, cool. No.
Oh, now I realize that no way I'm signing up for that. Yep.
No, the best bit was once we're in the van and driving, he goes, "Are you two married?" And we said, "Well, we're not married." He said, "Oh, do you mind saying that you are?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." I'm glad we're here now.
What's the scenario in which that's a problem?
It's not great. Anyway, 1934, 400,000 people took Strength Through Joy package tours, and another 1.7 by 1937 had taken them, and millions more went on weekend excursions and organized hikes, getting strong through their joy. So when they were talking about Prora, the resort, he basically saw it as a Nazi Butlins, and Butlins, you probably know this, British holiday camps.
I don't quite. I do know of Butlins, but I've seen some stuff on them before. But basically, holiday camps in
holiday
the UK.
camps.
Similar
and they're
era.
designed to provide affordable holidays for everyday workers.
In the 20s, 30s, 40s, I think Butlins started. But they keep
least.
Going.
And they went forever. I mean, I remember seeing sitcoms written in the 1970s about these holiday camp directors and stuff. Of course, it's rife for naughty 70s British humor, innuendo.
And you get held up by Patrick Swayze at the end.
Yeah, that might be Butlins.
Yeah, maybe the American version.
That's
how I think of Butlins. Is
very similar. Yeah,
Dirty Dancing.
Only more English, and this one's more German. So it's supposed to be Prora was supposed to be an immense holiday camp for less well-off German workers, and would be literally the largest in the world.
Okay.
So none of that was untrue. That's what it intended to be, and they also really meant to. But also, its mission was to control and bring into line the German population's leisure time.
No doubt. Of course.
Imagine.
Oh, my God. What is the bit of your brain that goes, I get you run a factory, and it's like, I want to control and make efficient the working time. But who says, you know what also must be made controlled and efficient?
All the time.
Is the leisure time as well.
Everything you do must be in line. So it was insane. So the plans were people literally had no free time. I mean, I've seen footage of what they suggested it should have been. So the constant activities, people doing fun things, jumping up and down, splashing in the water. Everyone was intended to eat together. You'd watch the same movies, propaganda films, listen to rousing speeches in the humongous auditorium, which we'll get to later.
That's great.
All your standard Nazi authoritarian stuff.
So do we have any leisure time in here? I get that it might.
All of that's leisure time. You don't understand.
Watching movies and eating is a little bit leisurey, but it does sound like it's turning into a factory anyway.
Look, now the propaganda images, like you can see the ocean. You're by the ocean, which is very unusual for many of these folk in the 30s. They were working in horrible industrial towns. You were hanging out with people. You were jumping up and down, splashing in the water and stuff, but you were doing it as we tell you.
Yeah.
And the propaganda, that's kind of everywhere.
God, can you imagine? People in Australia being told, okay, so you're now on holiday, and here is the schedule now of what you will be doing during your holiday.
You will relax from here to here in this way. You're like, that's great. Actually, I went on holiday with a buddy of mine who was like that. He was so motivated. So there were three of us. One of them was very motivated, and the other two of us were less so. And so we'd kind of stagger out of the hostel dorm, get a coffee, lie around, maybe have other things that Byron Bay has on offer, play some cards with British tourists, and he'd be like, okay, it's time to relax. We're going to relax first. Let's go over there and relax and go here and relax and blah, blah, blah. And we're looking like, hey, man, that's not how we do it, man. Drove us all crazy. We drove him crazy. He drove us crazy, but he would have been much better here at Prora.
Yeah, people want different things. Fair enough.
They do. God, you're so understanding. I'm not. I think if people don't like what I like, they must be brain damaged. That's just science. So the design of this place, it was designed by Clemens Klotz, and Klotz apparently means block in German, which seems kind of appropriate.
No, that is a fake German name. That is a Monty Python German name. Okay, we need a Nazi character now. It's Clemens Klotz. He's the architect, Clemens Klotz.
I'm Clemens Klotz and Schmidt. He was managed in inverted commas by Albert Speer. You may have heard of him.
Hitler's architect.
A little bit. And Prora was supposed to accommodate up to 20,000 holidaymakers in 10,000 rooms at once.
Damn, that is a big hotel.
Freaking humongous. There were 8 identical connected 6-story buildings.
That's cool. That is what they recommend in making stuff look really nice and not scary. Is
relaxing, embracing, warming, comforting. Each room measured 5 meters by 2.5 meters.
That's not not vast.
No.
2.5 meters is pretty narrow, really.
Yeah. Oh. I was thinking, no, I got nothing else to add. Yes, it is.
It doesn't scream holiday. I get if you want to cram a lot of people in, that's not bad.
Not cram, encourage people to have all the same thing. So every single room for 20,000 guests 2.5 by 5 meters, 2 beds, a wardrobe, a sink.
With 2 beds in there?
2 single beds pushed
no.
up against each wall.
Okay, yeah, right. So you have to have sex in the middle. Like,
I don't have to have sex anywhere, man. That's up to me.
I thought that they would be keen on people having the sex in this sort of place. I thought, and make more little Germans, I think.
Well, here's the thing with sex. It doesn't only happen in beds.
No, I have heard. Haven't
you read that book?
No, yes.
I had sex not in a bed.
I know, but this is the 1930s in Germany. I would have expected that they would be more encouraging.
Ich bin horny. Wer ist a bed shop? It had also a wardrobe and a sink, and every single room faced the ocean, had an ocean view of some description.
That's cool.
Although, I mean, I'm assuming the lower ones, there were some trees in the way, so at least you could sort of smell and hear the ocean.
Fair enough.
Hitler wanted it to be, spectacular, though. So he wanted a giant seaside resort, and he wanted, quote, the most mighty and large one to have ever existed. Only he wanted that in German. In the middle, he wanted a gigantic building to be erected, and he included, and he insisted the plans of an architect called Erich Putlitz would be included for this giant indoor arena. He was extremely focused on this. It was going to be called a festival hall. It would accommodate all 20,000 guests at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's big.
In the middle of the holiday resort, which is what you want to do. You want to hang out with 19,999 other resorty folk. Sorry, I should say folk. The plan also included 2 wave-generating swimming pools.
Damn.
Pretty advanced.
When were they invented?
Cool. Probably then.
That's cool.
They're an innovative movement. A cinema, a theatre, a large dock for passenger ships was also planned, so you could bring in the big ships and get in there. But he also wanted to make sure it could be converted into a military hospital in case of war.
Oh, well, nice to plan ahead, Hitler. Thank you.
Well,
you didn't know anything was
coming.
He
might be surprised. Anything could happen. The designs won a Grand Prix award at the 1937 Paris World Expo. So, the design was impressive at the time. Okay. People looked at it and went, holy shit.
That is the best of seaside resorts, seeing as we've never seen a seaside resort being built en masse like that before.
This one definitely wins.
That one is it. In our new category, giant seaside resorts.
And we have, let me just go through it, 1 entry. So, welcome. Come and get your laurel wreath. So, construction started in 1936, which is early. So, you probably noticed that's before the war.
Yeah, I know that.
And for the few years that it was under construction, you had all the major construction companies of the Reich were involved in the project. Nearly 9,000 workers were getting into it.
Damn, I thought, before the war, it was just building autobahns and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, look, it says all the companies, so not necessarily all the workers, but a shitload of people, 9,000 people. By 1938, the construction costs were 237 million Reichsmarks, which is probably about €1 billion now.
Okay. All right. So it's a big building, though. It's a big building.
Yeah. Spent some coin.
And actually, if you divide that by, how many rooms was it? 10,000 rooms or 20,000 rooms? 10,000 rooms. So, that's not a lot per room, actually.
€2 a room. It's nothing.
Obviously, that was a rough calculation there. But
very rough. Back of the envelope, but I don't have an envelope. Oh. So then, shock horror, this took the Nazis by surprise. In 1939, a war started.
Oh, yeah.
And they went, oh mein Gott.
What do we do with Seaside Resort now?
This is a surprise.
Defend the Seaside Resort.
So building on Prora stopped and construction workers moved to other things that were war-related, like, facilities that made the V-2 rockets and stuff.
Yeah.
So the 8 housing blocks in the theatre and cinema are even now still empty shells. The swimming pool and festival hall were never built.
Oh, really? Yeah. I thought
blocks were built.
So there were no holidays made here.
There were not.
No streams of 10,000 Germans not quite making babies together at this hotel.
No.
I'm really. I don't know if I'm sad, but.
Oh, well, look, maybe. Look, there's still a story left. So, if it had been finished and people had actually gone there, it would have been by far and away the largest holiday resort on the planet. And the most standout bits were it used advanced technologies like reinforced concrete, which is actually at the time quite astounding, all kinds of progressive materials and so forth. And I didn't give you this to mention before, it was nearly 5 kilometers long.
Damn.
Yeah. So technical term is fucking huge. It was just enormous.
It's the Pentagon of seaside resorts.
Yeah, only straight, not pentagonal.
Yeah, I know, but big building. That's what I mean.
Yeah, very big building. You're right. You do have that right. The angles, not so much, but the size, definitely. And one commentary I read said basically, Prora perfectly represents the Nazi regime's megalomania and its incompetence because it was never completed.
What a surprise, though, that megalomania and incompetence go together. It's a
hard to fathom.
It's a winning combination, that one.
Yeah. So no strength through joy tourist ever had a vacation at this seaside resort.
I'm really disappointed because even though I don't want the Nazi association, but the T-shirt would still be cool. It wouldn't be cool, but
keep listening. So the housing blocks, which were just shells, but they existed, were ultimately used in different ways.
Yes, what?
So World War II up to through the 1990s. Let's go that period first. I'm just going to crack open this delicious Handsome Elvis by Bolter. Bear with me, dear listener. What a fabulous noise that is. So World War II to the 1990s.
A long time.
During the bombing campaigns,
yeah,
the Allied bombing campaigns, many people from Hamburg would shelter in the housing blocks there.
Oh, yeah.
Not comfortably, not resort-like, just not being bombed. That was pretty much their priority.
Okay. They're close enough to Hamburg that they can get there pretty quickly. Yeah.
Supposedly. Okay. Yeah. Close enough. I don't know if you could walk there, but it was, it was there. By the end of the war, a lot of the houses, these places, housed female auxiliary personnel who worked for the Luftwaffe, the Air Force.
Okay.
In the late 40s, a couple of the blocks, it seems, were pretty much destroyed at one at each end. Most of the remains were removed, but that reference was a little bit shaky. Anyway.
I won't judge you on that one. That's all right. It's still pretty big, though.
I don't feel judged. We're all in lockdown now. No one's judging anyone right now. Between 45 and 55, so Blockhouse 5, one of the 8, housed the Soviet Army's 2nd Artillery Brigade.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, of course, it's in the east of the Germans.
2nd Seaside Resort Artillery Brigade.
I know. What are the accommodations like? A shell, but we got big guns. In the late 50s, the East German military rebuilt a bunch of the buildings, so they tarted them up and made them better. And given most of the buildings had been stripped and fucked with in the 1940s, most of the exteriors and stuff and the finishes that you can even see remaining today, at least for a while, were done by the East Germans. So it was
East Germans, again, famed for their aesthetics.
Delicious aesthetics.
Amongst the most beauty-oriented people that there ever were.
Oh, yeah. The architecture is evocative of being, I don't know, beaten.
Having a police state watching down your back the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, look, on a grand scale, excellent. Just like Mussolini's Italy, the full hardcore mega brutalist buildings are amazing. That's because they're huge.
No, I love brutalism.
Yeah. But if it's small, brutalism just looks I think brutalism's got to be large.
It's one concrete block. It's like, this is my concrete block letterbox. It's brutalist. No, it's just lame. Yeah.
No, it's just a small piece of concrete, mate. If it was the size of 4 houses and it was your letterbox, raucous applause. So 1956 until 1990, roughly, it was under East German control. So the buildings became a restricted military area with a bunch of East German army units in it. And apparently the most prominent, the most notable were the Elite 40. So the Fallschirmjägerbataillon Willi-Sänger, which is the, you got that anyway, right? You understood that.
I already knew that one. Yeah,
you knew that.
It had Jaeger in it.
The 40th Parachute Battalion. And the Willi-Sänger, I don't know why. I assume Willi-Sänger was the dude who invented it or something. I don't know. So it was there from the 1960 to 1982.
Okay.
Quite a while. Parachute Battalion. There was also, one of the blocks was used for urban combat training by the Parachute Battalion and other folk as well. So urban combat kind of makes sense.
It doesn't sound like a great way to look after your seaside resort, though. Training for urban combat. Like, it does sound like this is going to slowly wear this down into something that doesn't look seaside resorty anymore.
And it really makes the whole joy relaxation thing sound a little less joyous and relaxing.
Yeah, joy and relaxing, plus also urban combat training facility.
But it makes a propaganda film and a nice jumping up and down with 10,000 other people sound nice.
If you were choosing your Bali resort and you could have, Seaside or Seaside plus urban combat training facility, which one are you taking? I know.
I want both, yes. I want to be able to go to the beach and I want to be able to play war games. It sounds delightful. As long as it's not real bullets. Where were we? 1982 to 1990, the East German Army Construction Battalion, or the Mukran, which does not sound German at all. They used to work out of there, and conscientious objectors, so they served as non-combatant construction soldiers there to meet their military service obligation.
Yep.
I'm amazed to hear that you could be a conscientious objector in East Germany, but apparently you could.
Oh,
Huh. I didn't think of that. And part of the building was also the East German Army's Walter Ulbricht convalescent home. So once you got your dick shot off staring at the Russians or the Americans, you can convalesce there.
Sure. It does sound very multi-purpose. I get that there's a lot of rooms in here, and so actually filling it up is kind of hard.
Yeah, and I don't think they were trying to fill it up. They're just like, oh, well, let's use it for that then. What the hell? And I mean, it's on an island, so you could control entries and exit points, etc. So if you had secret-y stuff, you could put it there. In the 90s, so we moved into the 90s, parts of the building were used for things like the military technical school. And also for a while, it housed asylum seekers from the Balkans.
Cool.
Which is unexpected.
Yes, I don't even know what to say.
You look like you didn't expect that.
No.
So then, yeah, Karen.
I just like the idea that you've how's your asylum seekers in with your paratroopers and all of these other facilities and your urban warfare training facility.
Yeah, but at the beach.
Yeah.
And the Balkans not renowned for beaches. Or have I got that wrong?
I have no idea.
You did geography. I think they're very inlandier.
No, the Balkans are Yugoslavs, like down that way.
You don't call them that; they'll fucking fuck you up. So in 1993, the facility was empty and the buildings were basically decaying and vandalized. So it was not looking good on the whole. But the first civilian use for Prora was in the late 1990s, so heading towards the end of the last century. The YMCA took one of the long buildings, one of the blocks.
YMCA.
I know. The Young Military Christians Association. So there was a Cologne, as in the town, not the stuff you spray on yourself, a guy from Cologne, a writer called Christian Wertschulter. He said, oh, yeah, I remember staying there as a teenager and I, quote, hated every minute of it.
Oh, that's great. What a review. What a review.
Yeah, but when I hear YMCA, space, do you want to go and stay there? I'm like, I don't.
They're not. They're just backpacker hotels. They're
functional.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're
very functional.
They're not glossy and luxurious, but they do what it says on the tin.
Look, it depends where they are. That's the bottom line. It's all about location with those. So maybe it was okay. But he also said he recorded his school trips there in his youth, and he points out that it would, quote, it would be a good place to teach Germans about everyday life under the Nazis.
Oh, great. Oh, great. like if I know that experience history is great, I was, one of my kids is doing gold rush stuff at the moment, so they're doing a lot of imagine you're in the gold rush and they're doing dress ups and stuff like that and playing these games. But I don't know if you need to do history through doing through dress up in the Nazi regime. We can read that and look at the photos.
This is what it would have been like under the Nazis. Okay, I got it. Yeah, it's been 98 seconds. I'm done. I get it. Can I go now?
No, you have to feel it. You have to feel it all the way in. You have to feel the.
Okay, 105 seconds. Now I also feel it. Can I go
first?
now?
No, you have to do the whole movement. Strength through joy up to,
So I love the final quote on this one. It would be a good way to teach people about, life under the Nazis. And he says, it's not hard to imagine why, because even with its gorgeous sandy beaches, the place feels bleak and harsh.
Oh, God, of course it does.
And I mean, we can put some photos up. I grabbed some, I stole them off websites and stuff, but the area itself looks freaking delightful. Like, it looks lovely.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that the number of days per year in which the weather makes it look delightful are vanishingly small. To be fair, though, the winter is long and bleak for many, many months. So to
be fair, though, you get 4 more days of summer than Norfolk.
Indeed.
And we all know what that means. So let's move to this century. From 2000, there was a place there, like a museum sort of thing, called the Documentation Center Prora.
What a German name for a museum.
Fuck, I mean, to me it sounds so Russian, but it's not. I mean, even Prora to me sounds Russian, not German. But anyway, what do I know? I spoke some German, and my father was displaced by the Russians, so I probably know all of it. Pretty much totally covered.
I don't know if that's how it works.
No, that's how it works. If something happened to someone you're related to, it happened to you too. Like Donald Trump had an uncle who's very good at medicine, so he understands medicine. We know this, right?
Yeah, that's different. That's Donald Trump. And
same.
And do you know what I'm saying? Don't be like Donald Trump.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Okay, I'll try that one. So the center, it documents the construction and use, the history of the building. It covers backgrounds of the project. It also talks about, appropriations for Nazi propaganda. Like, apparently it's fairly honest about what it talks about. Their chief historian, Katja Lücke, she said after the military uses of this thing, an independent study said, what are we going to do with it? And the independent study said, okay, it recommended a mixed use of the building complex. So for soft tourism, education, culture.
Hang on. Just soft tourism.
Yeah, it's like tourism, but with a cushion.
Okay, so what is hard tourism?
Tourism without a cushion. And maybe some knives. I don't know. I looked at her and went, okay, soft.
I don't know what the category is. Like,
yeah, soft tourism. I assume it's like we don't want to overplay it. We just want to say you can tourist here, but not
so it's
too
not
hard.
it's not like tourism for people that can't walk very far versus hard tourism is like hard tourism is like people with full on backpacks and big pulled up socks and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
walking up the side of Everest unassisted and so forth. Yeah. Well, she also said that it recommended cultural events, living and social care sorts of stuff, mixed use for many things. And the use would have been connected with the consideration of the history of the building and the intention to protect and preserve it. But then they started to realize the complexity of the task in this independent study, and they said, okay, the Federal Finance and Estate Office decided to sell it, basically to get out of the responsibility.
But just vast. Like this is the
vast
thing. I can imagine that it's actually so big that anything you do is going to be so expensive, and to actually recoup and actually look after it is a huge project. Even to fence this thing off would be expensive.
Yep, humongous, insane. So rolling from that, 2004, after more than a decade of unsuccessful attempts to sell the whole site in one lump.
Who wants to buy it?
Yeah, 10 years. Roll up and buy this. No, cool.
What possibly would be the use? Like this is literally you buy it and you can never recoup that.
Probably not, although. So they sold it off in individual lumps. So in 2004, one of the blocks sold for €625,000 to an unknown bidder.
€625,000 for a whole block.
For one block.
So a block is like 6 stories. How many?
Well, what's an eighth of 10,000 rooms, basically? So.
Okay, so we're talking 1,000 rooms. Well,
seems to be. Yeah, there was a lot in there
for €625,000
in 2004.
Okay,
but we're talking a shell too. We're not talking. We're talking. There's a structure, and that's pretty much it. It's not pretty.
Okay.
The next year, so not long after, 2005, the third block, the former Museum Mile, it was called for some reason, it was sold to a real estate company, and it announced that the building would be used as a hotel.
How much did they buy it for?
That I couldn't get a number.
I'm just trying
to
check the price inflation here because
I'll give you a few numbers, but I could only get some. 2006, so a year later, Block 1 and 2 was sold to developers, and their plan was to convert them into shops and apartments. So that's Block 1 and 2. But then Block 1 was resold in 2012 and bought by a Berlin investor for €2.75 million.
There you go. See?
That's 2012.
Yeah, price growth there.
Also, sorry, out of sync. In 2006, the Federal Agency for Real Estate purchased Block 5. So, and there was no number on that either. So we're talking money.
To me, it smells like that when the Federal Agency for Real Estate buys it. That is the buyer of last resort. Like that's
it is. Right.
Someone has to
buy
own
it back
this,
so it looks valuable. The government bought it. So the first thing, the youth hostel that existed, the YMCA thing, it was renovated and reopened in 2001 and built as the world's longest youth hostel.
that is so great. I mean, obviously, my dream is to go to all top 10 of the longest youth hostels in the world. That is my.
But
what?
Me then.
But what?
No, if you're in a youth hostel kind of part of the world, time of life.
Yeah, you're backpacking, you're going around the world, and
you're looking to bang, right? You're looking to travel and bang.
Yes, and you look at your Lonely Planet and you go, okay, which of these 3 can I go to? I can go to Gary's and Placentas, and this one's the longest in the world.
Yeah, but let's think about what that means. Many opportunities.
No, I mean, yes, but
yes. No. How many are in this hostel? There are like 9,000 people here. I reckon I'm going to get some.
There could be the same number, but not in the longest. They could be using
Gary's is way smaller, and so is Placentas. You know that. You've stayed there. You remember. So the world's longest, youth hostel, to which I say, Yay. There's a T-shirt I'd wear, though. That'd be funny.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'd take that one.
You were talking about T-shirts. That'd be one I'd definitely like to have. Okay, now more recently, 2017. And this is quoting, there's a few travel writers and journalists that I'm going to quote indiscriminately but throughout this bit. If you make your way to Prora today, along the sparse roads that run through the sleepy rural Rügen, you'll see billboards. Some show people running happily along the beach. Others show the bleak blocks spruced up and populated via computer rendering.
Of course.
Yay. And so they've tarted it up. They are working on it, and we'll get into that. Like, it's definitely been tarted up a lot. And the thing, this is interesting about this. So I was reading a UK Guardian article by a dude in 2017 who, look, I don't think he's super pro-German, but he's not, it'll become apparent. But he does note that it's compared to the delicate way Germany normally handles its fascist heritage, it's unusual to do this. It's unusual to take a former site that was, a bastion, or at least intended to be a bastion of this Nazi era, and tart it up rather than bulldoze it and ignore it.
Yeah, okay. And say, you can come and have fun here.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of other places that they don't want to do that.
Yeah, many. And so he goes on to say, Prora's dereliction, like that of Albert Speer's Zeppelinfeld in Nuremberg, whatever that is, once stood as an instructive image of Nazi hubris. But now, he says, it's becoming the place it was intended to be. Now, I don't think that's true, other than resort.
It's close though.
Yeah,
close.
Yeah, But anyway, so now we get to the point where the Strength for Joy resort is now for sale. Strength through Joy, my apologies.
Are you offering? Are you going to buy it?
I've already got one. You didn't know that? That's how I got onto this. I was reading their propaganda. So the flats in Block 1 are explicitly marketed as second homes for people from Hamburg and Berlin.
Yep.
They are luxury apartments, as they put it, for, quote, high-caliber customers.
Are you a high-caliber customer?
Yeah.
Stop it.
I know. Which is a bit of a change from its original intention. So they're talking about German luxury clientele, middle-aged, wealthy, out-of-towners. People who do not live there. So they started selling in 2016 between 300,000 and 600,000 pounds. That is the only number I could get. So Australian dollars, let's double it. 600,000 to 1.2 million.
Sure.
And most of them are now sold.
Okay. So are they still 5 meters by 2.5 meters?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, no. They are more. I'll get to that. So in the winter, though, it says, as with any other resort in Europe anyway, it'll be empty. So the plans are not popular with the nearby towns like Binz because there's no benefit for them. People don't leave. They go and hang there, and they're mostly empty. So there's not a lot of local economic stimulation.
But there is, like, the people that work in the hotel have to live there, and so it brings money in.
Well, these are apartments. These aren't hotel. These are people going there.
Even if you're in an
holiday
apartment,
homes.
you need to buy your chips and get your Ubers.
Fuck, I could do
things
some
like
chips
that.
now.
So I think this idea that will bring no benefit to the local town is a little bit rich.
Hey, I'm just reporting the reporter.
Unless the Germans are fully, that they drive everything in. Like, it's just we're all of our meals for the next 8 days. We have packed it all. We will not support the local economy as much as possible. I don't think that's likely, but.
Probably not, but you never know. Who knows what the high caliber German customer does? It's difficult to say.
I tend to think that the high caliber customer is not a pack everything into the esky as much as we can, and
I reckon you're probably right.
Whatever the German word for esky is.
Eschki. So one of the questions asked of one of the real estate agents who is helping develop Block 1, has the history of the site been a help or a hindrance in marketing Prora? She says both. The story belongs to this ensemble and will always be a part of Prora. The untouched nature of Prora makes it easy to forget the dark past. Through the reconstruction of this building, we are concentrating on creating something new for the future.
Yeah. What are you paying attention to the past for?
So real estate, though, isn't it? It's just beautiful. It's like, oh no, because looking forward.
I would love to talk to a real estate agent who, I don't think there are people that specialize in selling murder houses, but you know that they must. They go, oh, well, this is where the murder happened, and how do they address it? Because you can't. I'm sure that there is laws that you can't not say it. Like, you have to.
The first house we went to buy, someone had been murdered in it.
A murder house.
Yeah, and the real estate agent said, "Oh, we're obliged to tell you that someone was murdered in this house." And I was like, "That's fucking cool."
Oh, totally.
Just didn't like the house.
No, totally. If all other things being equal, it's like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I'd like to live in a murder house.
Well, I don't know. If I'd like the house, I wouldn't have cared. But then what I love is later on, one of our very early PhD students, she and her husband had gone and bought a house. And I said, oh, that's cool. Good for you. And she said, and then we found out someone was murdered there. So we sold it. And I said, hang on, is this? Name the address. And she said, yes, that's the house.
Oh.
They bought the house, found out later, freaked out and sold it.
No, see, I'm sure that's why. I don't doubt that you could probably sue for not telling that. I don't know. I don't know what the legislation is, but that is
the rules have changed, at least in this town.
That is a pretty big fact about a house, that even though there's no scientific truth to it, there's a weird history, and you can certainly point to it having market effects. So.
Yeah, it's ghost feelings, and I get it. You know, like someone was murdered in this room, you can see a little stain under the paint there.
Oh, you'd
we
always
don't know
look,
what that is.
Always, like you're watching TV, and then an ad comes on, you're like, "Do you think that's a bit of brain? Do you think that's where it was?"
A body part. Yeah, I'm worried now.
And do you look it up? Do you look up the actual story? Do you go, okay, it was in this room, and here's where they, whatever, or do you go, no, it was just somewhere in the house, and you're always looking for clues?
Christ, the first group house I moved into was owned by the estate of a woman whose body was found floating in the lake.
Oh.
Murdered by her child or her adult son, and he tried to concrete boot her and sink her, but he didn't let the concrete set.
Seriously.
So she floated up, and I knew the guy who found the body because he was doing professional rowing on the lake, and they hit something, and it was her corpse.
Oh, Jesus. This is
nothing to do with the story.
It's very Agatha Christie.
Yeah, it really was.
Oh, no, Midsummer Murders, actually. So
I don't know the difference. Are they the same?
They're slightly different.
They're all Mayor of Willings, Pam, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
So another journo was talking about Prada, and he said, it's striking visiting Prada how normal the imagery put out by the property companies is. You could be anywhere. But of course you're not. You're in the largest built relic of German fascism, a place where mass murderers were trained. Then he says, but he's speaking to beachgoers. One of these beachgoers comments, Germany's full of memorials. Why have another? Let's just make the place nice.
We've got enough memorials.
I know. Like, come on, man. I was just surfing. Fucking calm down, dude.
Can't we have something nice?
Some of the other marketing. So one of the bits of it is called Prada Solitaire. It's one of the biggest new developments on the site, and it's described as a holiday paradise in, quote, one of the largest historic buildings in Germany.
Nice.
And you can book an apartment through Airbnb if you're interested. Another one's called Prada Platinum. It's claimed to have a, quote, world-famous monument, turned a world-famous monument into a luxury symphony of perfection.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah.
High-caliber people really suck. Like, they're really... Like, if you're turned on by an ad that says you need a symphony of perfection, like, that doesn't speak to me.
Oh, it sings to me. I hear that and I'm like, I really want a symphony of perfection for my holiday. I mean... My idea of a symphony of perfection might not be theirs.
Can you imagine turning up to a holiday where everyone else is looking for a symphony of perfection? You're like, I just want to chill out.
It'd smell weird too, wouldn't it? Everyone's symphony smells different, I'm pretty confident. You can also, what do they put it? There are also more affordable stays like the Youth Hostel Prada. And the website Hostel World sells beds and makes a reference to its, quote, eventful past.
Eventful. Oh, God.
My favorite. So I was rummaging through these travel writer stuff, and there's a description from 2019, and there's a bunch of quotes, but I think they're worth it. So this guy says, and then I just scrolled too far. There we go. There's dappled sunlight on the Baltic Sea. My hair is wet from swimming. I watch the children playing on Prora's beach with its fine golden sand, one of the loveliest in the Baltic. A little boy wants to save all the jellyfish by dragging them back into the shallow sea. Couples relax in roofed wicker beach chairs. Families fly kites. The promenade of the fashionable neighbouring seaside resort of Binz was extended all the way to Prora. The tourist resort railway now stops at the old KDF, Strength Through Joy, camp. So paints this very evocative image. Then goes on to describe the hotel rooms. So you're asking whether they were the same size. So instead of the original 12.5 square meters, which is about, I think, 6 square feet, now they've banged them together. No, it's not. 7. I'm not good with maths. I'm an English major. Shared showers. There's
hang on.
Yeah,
wait.
Oh no, they used to be shared showers. Sorry.
Okay.
Now they get luxurious holiday apartments, 28 to 120 square meters.
Okay.
Ensuite bathrooms, fully equipped kitchens, etc.
Okay.
The spa area has a sauna and an indoor
Because no
swimming
symphony
pool.
of perfection has me
Shitting next to a stranger.
Exactly.
Yep.
That is not
Yep.
my symphony of perfection.
No.
In any direction. Like, sure,
No.
if he's hearing my giant turds, that's awesome. But I really don't want to engage.
So my question for you is: at what point is he hearing them on the way out? Or
I don't know. I don't know.
or-
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just
really
saying.
thought about
It's
this.
weird and not great. But you haven't thought about it. Surely there is a whole bunch of Freud.
Oh, yeah.
Freud probably has a whole chapter what it's like shitting next to people. I don't know.
In a resort. So there's a spa area, there's a sauna, indoor swimming pool, there's paddle pools outside. The lobby has a glassed-in extension. The walls behind the reception desk are covered in plants. There's huge screen displays with impressions of the Baltic Sea. So that sounds nice.
Yes, it does.
And they carry on. I can scarcely wait to rediscover the huge complex that has changed so much. So he's visiting there and he's like, I want to wander around. But this time I want to go by bicycle. So you can rent them now. Also in Block 2, which has, as well as bicycle rental, a hairdressing salon, a boutique, an Italian restaurant, a bistro with fish sandwiches, obviously, a burger restaurant, a cafe, and a bakery. And the promenade is apparently so popular that he has to cycle very carefully, otherwise he'll hit people. So that's
What a great description of popular. That's cool.
I know. There are guided tours of the grounds, and apparently they reveal exciting and surprising details about the architecture and history of the Strength Through Joy complex.
Here's where the Nazis did this. That's great.
Or at least intended to,
Yeah.
supposedly. It gets better. There's a lot of biodiversity in the flora and fauna that managed to settle in the abandoned complex, which sounds to me like you got rats and shit in your room, but no. There's a rare bat species. There's weird European swallows. And
Bats aren't far from rats, though.
No, it's true. It almost sounds the same. The Prora Natural Heritage Centre's interactive exhibit, which is a 15-minute bicycle ride from the Colossus, informs visitors about habitats on site and offers guided walks. See, you're interested? I can see you. You've got that interested twitch.
Indeed.
The Natural Heritage Centre's treetop path with its 40-metre tall observation tower is a highlight in the truest sense of the word. That was not original.
You are really fantasizing about your post-COVID holiday, aren't you? You're like, this is what I need.
Oh, no, there's a good reason for this because, I mean, the image is weird. It's this giant circular thing surrounded by trees. It's an unusual-looking complex. And as this travel writer goes on to say, it's accessible to wheelchair users, just like the hostel and the Prora Solitaire Hotel. And they have, no barriers to such disabilities. The author goes on to say Hitler, with his mania for euthanasia, would not have been enthusiastic about this.
Indeed.
This is a travel article. Nor would he have liked my neighbours in the hotel, a homosexual couple. And of course, this, quote, seaside resort for 20,000 was only for so-called Aryans who accorded with the insane racial and other standards of the Third Reich. So there's an advertising poster from 1939 which shows a blonde heterosexual couple in front of an idealized drawing of the Strength Through Joy complex, looking, as they all do, Soviet and German alike, or Nazi alike, into the middle distance with great enthusiasm and optimism.
That's not how you think about all your holidays? I'm all the time on my holidays. I'm looking into the middle distance with enthusiasm and optimism.
Are you thinking that now?
No, that's all I ever do.
You are an optimistic fellow. It's the looking into the middle distance that's distracting, particularly in meetings.
I know it's great in meetings. It's because middle distance in meetings looks like you're not dozing out. It looks like you're thinking to the strategic horizon.
Oh, that's true.
But just
I
sit
mean,
there.
I know you're talking
sit there,
5-year plan,
sit
but
there,
I'm
just-
thinking 20.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we got to do is be strategic. There you go. Meeting solved.
Oh, good call. So to close us out about Prora. So again, back from this UK Guardian journalist who's has opinions. So he's quoting that historian I spoke about before, Katja Luke. She says, look, this is a place where 20,000 people were to be groomed to work and wage war. So, of course, people see this gigantic complex and are fascinated by it. I get that. But you cannot afford to make it banal. You have to put it in context. And sure, I get what she's saying. She says Prora offers a chance to explain the National Socialist ideology and to experience it because one can actually see it. Now, I contest that. I don't think the luxurious bathrooms with the bicycles and the children playing is quite the National Socialist ideology, but I see what she's saying.
No.
The Pommy Journo continues. He says, so given how similar Prora now seems to be to many modern resorts, it makes clear how certain Nazi ideas about mass tourism became, quote, normal, albeit in a different form.
Okay.
This is where I think he wanders off. It's not the only Nazi-era idea gaining prevalence in Germany today, he says. In the summer and autumn, this is 2019, election posters all over Rügen, the island, urged a vote for the Alternative für Deutschland party, which bases its appeal on hostility to foreigners, family values, and an end to interrogations of Germany's past.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool.
Yep.
He throws in an aside that says, oh, yeah, and it's in Angela Merkel's, one of her districts, which when I first read it, I thought, oh, that's fucked up. Then I realized it's nothing to do with her. They just happened to be in one of her areas. Okay. So the Alternative für Deutschland, the AfD, argues there should be an end to monuments of shame, such as the memorial to murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin.
Oh, they want to bring them down, or they're just not putting any more up?
We don't need them anymore.
Okay.
It's not clear whether they want to get rid of them, but they certainly don't want any more. And apparently their vote was very high in the island of Rügen. And so now it says, the fact that you can live in the old Strength Through Joy camp and enjoy it as a holiday resort like any other, the normality they want to show from Germany's past is being realized through the simple wonders of the real estate market. Now, I think he's getting a little hysterical, but I see what he's trying to say. So I'll end on this. There's a fun fact first. Prora was featured in the video game Civilization 5.
Oh, okay.
Specifically in the expansion pack Civ 5 Brave New World, it appears in the game as a wonder associated with the ideology of autocracy. So I think that's fun. So would you stay there?
Oh, look, I wouldn't be against it. I once stayed in. It was a small selling point, but my wife and I, before we went to India, before I did my field work there, and we were just backpacking around India, and we found it really hard to find a hotel when we arrived late at night in Delhi. I think we'd been around for a while, and we were coming back to Delhi. The train arrived at 11 o'clock at night, and it was like, it's going to be hard to find a hotel. So we're ringing around. This is before phones and internet and stuff like that. And we're like, all right, let's just keep going up in price until we can find one. And then there was one, it was like, oh, damn, this is the place where Gandhi's assassin stayed before he assassinated Gandhi. And I'm like, oh, all right, that'll be interesting. Let's go there.
But Gandhi was assassinated?
Yeah, Gandhi was assassinated.
No one tells me that.
Yeah, and
so you stayed in the same room?
Obviously, yeah, and you could see the bit in the bed where he slept.
There was still a stain on the sheet.
There was
an assassin stain.
There was just a dimple in the bed. I don't know.
Oh, buttock dent.
I'm not against. Here's the thing on something like Prora is there is obviously a direct ideological relationship between Hitler's thinking here and a giant resort and what do we do with it? And it's not like it was a small building where you can just tear it down. This is a giant thing where even tearing it down would cost a lot of money. But is there ever this level of anxiety about the Autobahn?
No. I don't think ever, literally, unless maybe very briefly.
People use it every single day, millions of hours per day. And are there people thinking, oh, the Nazi regime built this, so therefore we shouldn't enjoy it. We should sit here and self-flagellate while we use it. Now, obviously,
don't just do that while driving.
And no, in Audis it's okay. Like there are German cars.
Well, they got a button for it. Self-flagellation.
They have the self-flagellation mode. Like obviously there are intense problems with a regime and with keeping things around like that. But I'm not agreeing with ADF here. But I think there is a moment to say we can understand history in some ways, but I don't know.
Oh, you don't have to be a dick about it. And also it's unenvironmental. To smash that place would be disenvironmentalistic. Also, apparently the reviews on booking.com, TripAdvisor, etc., are really good.
Is it nice?
Apparently it's great. Like, and if you look at the photos, like the shiny modern photos, it looks pretty damn good. And the location, pretty damn good.
Yeah,
better than Norfolk.
You know that there is the 2 days of a year where it's actually you can get out in the shorts. Otherwise, you're wearing your full steamer suit onto the beach because it's blowing a gale. Look,
it's still pretty.
I don't think Germany for my seaside resort. I would if I was in Germany and I need a holiday, sure, I'd think about that. But in general, I think of other countries, and my list of other countries for seaside resorts is quite long before I get to Germany.
Yeah, ditto. I agree. I go to the warmer parts and the more delicious parts. But, you know, I've been to a German airport, so Germany seemed great.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, and him.
Not Will Grant.
Brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And Hitleristic holiday camps.